Hello and welcome back to Hey J News, the show that's just like your grandmother's poops. You're glad she's still doing them, but you don't really care anymore. This week's top story is a depressing one, and not because my ex-wife is fucking my former best friend on Valentine's Day. Instead, it concerns the approximately 800 people laid off at Activision Blizzard, which is about 8% of its workforce. The layoffs occurred across numerous Activision Blizzard companies, including Blizzard Entertainment, King, Vicarious Visions, and High Moon Studios. Although they primarily targeted non-development roles like IT, esports, and support staff, members of design and art departments were laid off as well. Employees were reportedly crying and hugging in the Blizzard parking lot Tuesday morning, which provided the opportunity for CEO Bobby Kotick to gather enough tears for his daily bubble bath. The massive layoffs had been long rumored at the company, which appears to be cutting everything except for those involved directly in game development, and of course, executive compensation. Kotick made about $28 million last year, while new CFO Dennis Durkin received a signing bonus valued around $50 million. Remember when the late Satoru Iwata, former CEO of Nintendo, halved his own salary instead of laying people off when Nintendo was down? But I suppose comparing Iwata to Kotick is like comparing Robin Williams' Genie to Will Smith's Blue Man Group audition tape. The news was especially sour because it came on the same day that Activision Blizzard announced record revenues during an earnings call despite having missed expectations for 2018. In a note to staff, Blizzard President J. Allen Brack stated, quote, "Currently, staffing levels on same teams are out of proportion with our current release slate. This means we need to scale down some areas of our business organization," which is a businessy way of saying your jobs are getting in the way of our new boats. At least the letter noted that laid-off employees would get severance as well as job coaching and placement help, because after you screw someone, it's just polite to make them breakfast. It was also revealed on the earnings call that Blizzard also had no plans to release any major titles this year, which will mean that Blizzard will be going more than 3 full years between any major releases, with the last big one being 2016's Overwatch. On the bright side, it was stated that the company is hiring developers for multiple Diablo projects, which means we can all get excited for another BlizzCon this year, only to have our hopes dashed when they announce a new Diablo for Apple Watch and Etch-a-Sketch rather than Diablo 4. It's been announced that the hit Apex Legends could be introducing solo and duo modes soon as it continues its relentless growth, now surpassing 25 million players. Rumors have been indicating that the executive team has been coming into work in sweatpants this past week as they continue struggling to contain their raging erections. Not to worry though, as Anthem is in the midst of launching and is sure to balance out EA's good fortunes. Speaking of erections, however, Nintendo dropped a new Nintendo Direct this past week, resulting in thousands of pants being soiled around the world instantaneously. The Direct focused only on upcoming Nintendo Switch games and had a few surprise announcements. One of the biggest announcements was the return of Mario Maker, this time for the Switch, offering players new mechanics, enemies, and features to play around with. To those who were tricked by Nintendo into buying the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe game 1 month before the 2D Mario game with unlimited levels was announced, I'm truly sorry. Other announcements included a new trailer for Zelda Link's Awakening showcasing a new art style for Zelda, reminiscent of a cross between claymation and a Link pop figure. A new game by Platinum was also showcased titled Astral Chain, featuring futuristic anime cops and some chains. I can't wait to see what kind of fan art we're going to see around this series. Probably the most unexpected surprise from the Direct, however, was the release of Tetris 99, which I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's the latest game in the Battle Royale genre. Like, we all knew that Nintendo would dip their toe in the Battle Royale genre sooner or later. Would it be through the Star Fox franchise, or maybe even Splatoon, maybe Metroid? Nope, it would be through the classic tile matching puzzle game of Tetris. Tetris! And you know this means that if Fortnite is the home to trash-talking preteens, Tetris 99 is going to be the home of trash-talking grandparents. Setting our sights back into the present, it's an incredibly busy time for new game launches, which is great assuming any of those games are actually any good. Well, let's find out. I mean, not by playing them, of course. That's for nerds. Probably the biggest release is BioWare's looter shooter and Iron Man simulator, Anthem. Anthem launched on Friday, but it also launches next Friday, depending on where you landed on the Anthem bingo card. Neil Blomkamp of District 9 fame directed a short live-action trailer for the game as well, which somehow managed to make people in flying mechanical war suits less exciting than Elsa trying to get over a wave. I mean, come on, Elsa. You can do it. We believe in you. Full reviews weren't out as of well now, but responses from the demo are pretty mixed. It's basically what you'd expect. The core mechanics are pretty cool, and it looks pretty, but it's not clear if there's enough depth to it to keep players coming back. In other words, you'll probably want to wait until they kill Nathan Fillion to get in on this. Metro Exodus also came out on Friday. Reviews for this so far are good, if not great, with lots of praise for the environment and characters, but some problems with the exploration aspects of the game and repetitive encounters mar the experience. For those not familiar with the series, it's about a group of survivors emerging from their home in the Moscow subway to take a train east across a post-apocalyptic landscape for a better life, fighting all sorts of bandits and monsters along the way. So you know, Russia Simulator. Crackdown 3 also came out on Friday. Unfortunately, it looks like Terry Crews couldn't save this one because it's received a critical drubbing. Part of this is the dated mechanics and graphics, but like Adam Sandler's career, the bigger problem is that it tries to keep doing exactly the same thing it did 10 years ago. Far Cry New Dawn was also released on Friday. Seriously, what is it about this past Friday that makes it so good for game sales? You'd think they would have come out the day before, on Valentine's Day. I mean, nothing makes you want to play a game more than desperately trying to forget your crushing loneliness. Or so I'm told. Far Cry New Dawn. It's more perfectly average Far Cry 5 with a slightly different paint job. You already know where you land on that. And if you're like me, it's not in Montana. There's a reason they call it flyover country. Finishing off this Furious Friday's wares was anime super crossover Jump Force. Jump Force is an action-brawling game that includes characters from a slew of Shonen Jump universes, including Dragon Ball, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Fist of the North Star, and more. Unfortunately, reviews aren't exactly hot, with the game sitting at 62 on Metacritic due to a bad story and shallow fighting mechanics. It's to be expected when you put all your development efforts into pretty cutscenes. Oh, look at that. Japanese RPG Ni no Kuni is apparently being made into an animated movie by developer Level 5 and will release in Japan this summer. The original game was noteworthy for being done in conjunction with Studio Ghibli, the same animation studio behind classics like Princess Mononoke, My Neighbor Totoro, and Spirited Away. A few of those Ghibli members are set to help on this project, although the story will be an entirely new one. No word on whether it will be released outside of Japan, but with the internet, does it even really matter? In my day, I had to actually leave my parents' basement to get my fan subs. I had to talk to other people. It was terrifying. This week saw the return of the Overwatch League. For its second season, the league expanded from 12 to 20 teams, bringing in new franchises in Toronto, Vancouver, Washington, Atlanta, Paris, Hangzhou, Guangzhou, and Chengdu. There's an exciting amount of diversity in the host nations of these teams, which is probably exciting if you're one of the uniformly Korean players they've hired to play for them. At this point, all you need to do to get a tryout with the Toronto Defiant is a bowl cut. And that wraps up our show for tonight. Thanks again for joining, and be sure to say hi to your grandmother for me when you check up on her. See you next week, and until then, keep it classy. The next line is speaking of erections. Speaking of erections. Just casually, by the way, about them erections.